Namaste. My heartfelt gratitude to all of you for being here. The chosen prayer from the prayers and meditations of the Mother. Today, we have a prayer written by the Mother on April 10, 1914. And with my limited mind, I titled it as This is a prayer where it's all about the freedom one experiences when there is the release from the ego. On March 29, 1914, when the Mother met Sri Aurobindo for the first time, it was an important day, a very significant day, when the Mother made a complete transition of her consciousness. She experienced it. She took the resolution to shift her center of consciousness from the individual to the universal or the transcendental poise. And this resolution had to be worked out in details in each part of her being. The task that lay before her was that she had to take up the role of the world mother, a complete universalization of her individual self, so that she could uplift the earth consciousness for all of us. Now, the mother's individual consciousness was thoroughly permeated with divinity, and there was no imperfection whatsoever in that. Yet, the consciousness of an individuality, however sublime and divine, was still there. And there was a point of reference, an I within herself, and this too had to be annulled completely. And the point of reference had to be now the universal or the transcendental poise, and this was not an easy task at all. In this yoga, we see that the emergence of the psychic being is the first indispensable step. And the second necessary step is the progressive reign of the higher consciousness, which will eventually lead to the third indispensable step, which is the complete dissolution of the ego. And we know that dissolution of the ego is a very crucial experience. Rather, it is a state in which one must enter for one to become the instrument in which the divine can pour unhindered, unobstructed the power, the energy, and everything that is needed for the individual now to work for the divine and work for the divine manifestation according to the divine will. And dissolution of ego comes when there is complete and true surrender. When we offer ourselves more and more, and offer ourselves more and more for the divine work and for the love of the Divine Mother. And love, we all know, is the most powerful, the most potent of all powers. And it is love that breaks all boundaries of the individual self. And the universal and the individual self can become one for the divine work only through love. And on April 3rd, it is very interesting. The prayer is actually very interesting. On April 3rd, the mother writes, "It seems I am being born to a new life." And she further on in the same prayer says, "I must now definitely give myself up and be like an absolutely blank page." So she's ready to give up everything for the divine to write the script for her on her now. On April 7, this is the trajectory. On April 7, she heard the voice of the Lord. It is there mentioned in the prayer. "Never hast thou known to die integrally." And dying integrally is all about complete surrender. Without having even the wish or the desire to know, to witness, to understand as to what is happening within oneself. Not even the will or the, you can say, the understanding about how much progress have I made in the sadhana. And the mother then prays and she prays to the divine and says, "Deliver me from myself." On April 8, she turns to the divine with love and devotion and boundless trust. And she says confidently, "I know that the hour is near when the last veil will be rent." And the last veil is the veil of the ego self. And she further wrote, she prays for something and that is granted to her. "I give myself to thee without reservation, and the self disappears in thee." So, in just a few days, 4 or 5 days, she is able to annul her personality completely to become one with the Lord. So, by accepting to be nothing, she becomes all and inherits light, love, and immensity of the divine. So, in this prayer, let us read the prayer. She begins the prayer with a very emphatic line. April 10, 1914. Suddenly, the veil was rent, the horizon was disclosed, and before the clear vision, my whole being threw itself at thy feet in a great outburst of gratitude. Yet, in spite of this deep and integral joy, all was calm, all was peaceful with the peace of eternity. I seem to have no more limits. There is no longer the perception of the body, no sensations, no feelings, no thoughts. A clear, pure, tranquil immensity, penetrated with love and light, filled with an unspeakable beatitude, is all that is there. And that alone seems now to be myself. And this myself is so little the former I, selfish and limited, that I cannot tell if it is I or thou, O Lord, sublime master of our destinies. It is as though all were energy, courage, force, will, infinite sweetness, incomparable compassion. Even more forcibly than during these last days, the past is dead, and as though buried under the rays of a new life. The last glance that I have just thrown backward as I read a few pages of this book definitely convinced me of this death, and lightened of a great weight, I present myself before thee, O my divine Master, with all the simplicity, all the nudity of a child. And still, the one only thing I perceive is that calm and pure immensity. Lord, thou hast answered my prayer. Thou hast granted me what I have asked from thee. The I has disappeared. There is only a docile instrument put at thy service, a center of concentration and manifestation of thy infinite and eternal rays. Thou hast taken my life and made it thine. Thou hast taken my will and hast united it to thine. Thou hast taken my love and identified it with thine. Thou hast taken my thought and replaced it by thy absolute consciousness. The body, marveling, bows its forehead in the dust in mute and submissive adoration. And nothing else exists but thou alone in the splendor of thy immutable peace. So we see that in the previous prayers, when she's looking back and quickly reading what she has written over the past few days in the prayers, she finds that her prayers have actually been granted. And the death that she's talking of is the death of the ego self. And she's born anew, afresh, only for the divine work. And her individual self is no more individual, it is now the universal self. And we will see in the prayer, interestingly, that though we talk of individuality and letting go of this individuality and letting go of this ego self, we find that ego self is necessary for individuality, but later on it becomes a hindrance. So we have to let go of the ego, and then both the individual self and the universal self, they work. There is no difference then, and they work together simultaneously and only for the divine work. Then everything that one needs to know is made known. Everything that needs, every thought one is thinking, every will, the love one feels, comes back manyfold, magnified manyfold for the divine work. And what one experiences, as the mother experiences, is an immutable calm, a calm which nothing can disturb now. And in that calm, and that silence, and in that peace, all that needs to manifest through this human form is going to take place. So she says, suddenly the veil was rent, the horizon was disclosed. What lay before her became instantly clear to her. And the veil is the veil of ego within us. It is formed in us by our own preferences, attachments, desires, and only by love and devotion, the veil can be rent. On April 8, she had ardently implored the divine for this love. And for the mother, it is a complete surrender. And it is a complete renunciation of her siddhis, whatever, she had magnificent siddhis, and she was very high up in the spiritual life, and she's ready to let go of all that. She says further, and before the clear vision, now that the horizon has been disclosed, it is lying, she's able to see it very clearly. She says, before the clear vision, my whole being threw itself at thy feet in a great outburst of gratitude. So there is a kind of she's prostrating, she's full of joy and gratitude. And this is an outburst of gratitude. Yet, she says, in spite of this deep and integral joy, all was calm, all was peaceful with the peace of eternity. Though the mother's whole being is full of gratitude, and in effect it is a true renunciation, she's clearly seeing the horizon before her. Now this love, this joy always comes from the psychic, and it is very calm. And there is no excitement or no frivolousness, or there is not even a single vital movement in this. Her whole being is at peace and calm. And what happens as a result of this surrender and this gratitude, this immense, vast gratitude that she's feeling? She further says, I seem to have no more limits. This is what happens. I seem to have no more limits. There is no longer the perception of the body, no sensations, no feelings, no thoughts. Means everything, the mind, vital, everything is silent and calm. And there is a readiness in this calm, because she's saying eternal. She's using the word eternity, eternal peace. So there is a calm and there is an assurance that now whatever work has to be done will be done. And she has reached that stage. The mother has said that true surrender enlarges you, widens you. And people are afraid because they hold on to their limits. And that is what the individual personality is all about, holding on. But when we truly surrender, all that is needed to preserve this individuality or this personality and uplift it is taken up, and all that must go away from this personality is taken away. Something which really is not our nature is removed from us, and something which is truly a divine possibility is lifted up and taken up for the divine use. So Sri Aurobindo's, one is reminded of Sri Aurobindo's famous lines. When we have passed beyond individualizing, then we shall be real persons. Ego was the helper, ego is the bar. After all, ego gave you this personality. You worked hard to establish yourself, become an independent human being, ready to work independently. But ready to work independently for what? If you hold on to that, and if you think that I am the instrument, I am the individual, I have this personality, then the divine, the pouring of the divine force, one cannot even assimilate it, one cannot get it. So for that, the ego we have to let go of the ego. So ego was the helper, ego was the bar. And only when we have passed beyond individualizing, it's not that our individual self will disappear and we will stop working. And we will not say that, okay, I am this and I need to do this or what. But everything is now going to be for the divine. One is for the divine, by the divine, in the divine, everything for the divine. And it is not easy. For the one who says, Lord, take away this I-ness, as the mother is doing. She says, take away this, make this I disappear. When one says, take away this I, and let there be only one I, thy I, not my I, but thy I, then the infinite, the limitless, the vast enters and reveals itself, and then true life begins. So ego self was actually helping you to reach that stage. And it is making you come to a stage where you can grow spiritually. But you have to now let go of the ego and work and merge this ego, or just dissolve it, so that the one is united with the universal self. The individual self and the universal self become one. So initially we crystallize into individuals, but then being crystallized in the purest form, when the ego is not there, we are ready for the divine work. So giving up of the ego widens you, makes you vast, to encompass all and everything with love. She goes on to say, a very beautiful state, a clear, pure, tranquil immensity, penetrated with love and light, filled with an unspeakable beatitude, is all that is there. And that alone seems to be myself. So the myself is no longer any small, or is not just a point. It has become very vast. No more there is the personality, but a vast, impersonal universality, where different forces are coming into play at different moments, and this is all based on what the divine wills you to do now. She says, and this myself is so little, the former I. She says, wo itna chota tha. And I was thinking it to be so much. I was so focused on that. This myself is so little, and the former I, selfish and limited, that I cannot tell if it is thou, O Lord, sublime master of our destinies. It is very difficult when the mother writes and we read this prayer as so selfish. She's using the word selfish. I mean, selfishness is something we cannot even associate with the mother. But here she's writing for us. So essentially, if we want to be free from the ego and we want to embark on the true path, we have to get rid of the selfishness. And the fastest way, the mother has time and again, in many of the prayers she has said, it is service. And it is this service is the love translated into service. The mother has given a very high connotation to the term service. And when the service is done out of love and for the divine love, then it will only expand and it will touch everybody else around, and then the circle widens. So this is the path that the mother is showing us. And of course, the mother is the last person that we can call selfish. It's something like Sri Aurobindo once remarked, when he was in Baroda and he was earning 16 annas as salary, he wrote to Mrinalini Devi, his wife, in a letter, and he said, till now I have given only 2 annas to God, and the rest 14 I have kept to myself. So it is something like that the mother is telling for us. She says, it is as though all were energy, courage, force, will, infinite sweetness, incomparable compassion. And this suddenly letting go of this little myself and giving it to the divine, this suddenly releases us into a vastness. And what the Vedic rishis used to call as Rit Chit Ananda, or you can say Satyam Vritam Vritam Vrihatam. So she's experiencing that indefatigable energy that comes, that courage, that force, that sweetness, that compassion that is born when we are one with the Lord, when the individual self has united with the universal self. Then there is no difference. And there is a vast outpouring of these forces: courage, love, and sweetness, compassion. And Sri Aurobindo, so basically what was keeping us separate from the universal self now has dissolved. And there is a, you can say, union, true union, where one being an individual can allow the universal self to flow into, and the human form actually can become an embodiment of that force. Sri Aurobindo puts it beautifully in Savitri. Very strong and powerful line, very famous. The island ego joined its continent. This happens when the individual and the universal self become one. So man becomes the very universal power. In embodiment, actually the divine openly in action in human form. One experiences that, one can see that happening. So divine acts freely through the individual as the instrument, and the instrument is taken up completely by the divine for the divine works. She says, even more forcibly than during these last days, the past is dead. So it was important for me to refer to these past few days that she's talking of again and again. The past few prayers, if you read, you will see that once she becomes a blank page, she is struggling. She is trying to understand. And then she prays in one of the, I think on April 7, she writes, what courage is mine? When will I have that? When will I do what you want me to do? So there is but the moment this ego self, she has been able to dissolve, and it disappears from her completely. Though her individual self, ego self, is also divine, utterly divine. There is nothing wrong in that. Yet, for the divine work, there has to be a union with the universal self. She says, even more forcibly than during these last days. And these last few days, she has prayed. She has ardently implored to the Lord to take away this I, so that she can disappear in the divine. The past is dead, as though buried under the rays of a new life. So that's what she sees when she says the horizon is open now. She can see it clearly. The new life. From 29th March, the experience is developing now, and more. And now she feels that the past was necessary to bring her up till this stage, but now the past is no longer needed, and she's looking forward to the new life. that is before her. She writes, "The last glance that I have just thrown backward as I read a few pages of this book," that is her own diary where she's penning down these prayers and meditations, "definitely convinced me of the death and lightened of a great weight." So she says all the confusions, all the questions, all that was, she was not finding the answers to, she feels very lightweight now. She feels that her whole being is very light. And all the burden of the past, the cross that we usually carry, the baggage of the past is no longer there. She says, "I present myself before thee, O Divine Master, with all the simplicity, all the nudity of a child. And still the one only thing I perceive is that calm and pure immensity." We carry a lot of baggage from the past, the cross that we can say, the cross we bear, the load, one can say, the load of karma that we bear. And why do we bear it? Because we are in love with it. We don't want to let it go. It's not really needed. And it's not really needed. And if one is ready to be born anew and afresh perpetually at every moment, then this baggage won't be there at all. We ourselves are responsible for carrying it. And then we crib, and then we complain, and then we cry. So we can shed all this baggage, and we can let go of the past and everything else simply by the fact that we are ready to be what the divine wants us to be. That is being born anew every moment. What has happened in the past is only to bring you to a certain stage. And it is important to focus on the stage that we are now with the enthusiasm of a child. The child is not worried about anything. When the child is playing or doing anything, it's not worried. There is no worry. But as the child grows, lots of worries. That child, because of conventions, because of the way he's brought up, because of certain things that are happening, and he's in an environment where he learns to bear this cross and cry and crib. But when the child is born, if you ever hear the laughter of a child, the giggle of a child, it is so free. And one feels very free in that abandon. One can actually abandon oneself in that laughter of the child or that movement of the child that we see. It is so fresh. So henceforth, the mother will experience no individual anxiety about the outcome of her own sadhana, no eagerness to know, to witness, to understand, as she had prayed in the last prayer. And she will not even question the divine about her own progress. She has come to that stage where she knows the work is very important. And to know where I am exactly in sadhana, to which stage I have reached, is not important. What is important is that being led by the divine as the divine wills. So she is now going to live for the Lord, by the Lord, in the Lord, whatever the Lord wants her to be. And she's full of gratitude. And this gratitude, we read earlier, that it is bringing a calmness. It is not excitement, but it is a calm and eternal peace she's experiencing. She says, very interestingly in the same lines, "I present myself before thee, O Divine Master, with all the simplicity and nudity of a child." Now, this is a very interesting state. On one side, the mother has had vast inner experiences, and she is experiencing the vast immensity. And on the other side, there is a state of simplicity and the sweet candidness of a child. How sweet a stage is it? All divine beings, if we truly see the mother's life, when we read about Sri Aurobindo's life, they were so simple. The mother playing with small children, talking to them, laughing with them, teaching them. And at the age of 70, she started playing tennis. So she's perpetually fresh and anew. And if you look at all people who have attained, all great yogis, we will find that they are basically very, very simple. They don't carry anything within them. They are in the moment. They live that moment as the moment has to be lived, in joy and calm. So there are no ifs and buts, there are no do's and don'ts. She's free in the freedom of the Lord. She says, Lord, thou hast answered my prayer. All this while she has been praying. Thou hast answered my prayer. Thou hast granted me what I have asked from thee. And what did she ask? On April 8, she had asked, deliver me from myself. And that is granted to her. The I, she says, has disappeared. There is only a docile instrument. Why docile? Because it can be molded now. Whatever work needs to be done, there is no rigidity now. A docile instrument put at thy service. A center of concentration and manifestation of thy infinite and eternal rays. Now, this I that she is always writing in the inverted commas, the ego I has disappeared completely. And it will be used by her only as a means of communication, nothing else. The I that actually she is referring to here is now very different. And this, what has this I become? What has this I actually become? She says, a center of concentration. So it has become a center through which the divine light, love, truth, force, and power will be now pouring into her to uplift the earth. So with the, you can say, with the disappearance of this I, she has become a center and of concentration and manifestation at the same time. She says, very beautiful lines. Thou hast taken my life and made it thine. Thou hast taken my will and hast united it with thine. Thou hast taken my love and identified it with thine. Thou hast taken my thought and replaced it by thy absolute consciousness. This is transformation. This is the transformation. Live in the divine, for the divine, by the divine. This is the change that takes place. It undergoes transformation. And it is guided purely. She's saying, you have taken it and you have made it thine. My thought, my love, everything. She's not saying, I have given. Now she's not even saying, I have given it to you. She's saying, you have made it thine. So what is divine life? She says, I give you my life, you have made it thine. So basically giving up our individual life, our egoistic life, our selfish life, ignorant life to the divine. And in return, he will give us the divine life. This is the formula. You give, you offer whatever is there in you, thoughts, love, life, everything. And the Lord returns it to you, magnified and making it divine. What comes back to you is always, whatever you offer is in the human form, out of selfishness or ego. Even that if we offer, that will be turned into the divine feelings, the divine love, the divine life. That's the simple formula. Give our troubled will, our hassled will, our troubles, our thoughts. Then we have the omnipotence and the omniscience of the divine to guide us. Give our limited love. We have limited love. But when we offer it to the divine, it is returned in us by the divine as the divine love and ananda. Give our limited thought, limited understanding, and it is returned by the absoluteness of the divine consciousness and wisdom. This is the method. The exchange by offering. By offering, the change takes place. So key word of this yoga is to, Mother has said it again and again, to remember and offer. Whatever we remember and we offer starts undergoing change, starts undergoing transformation. The body will be there, but everything is getting transformed. So that now the body, along with whatever is now given to us by the divine, will be now put at his service. The body, marveling, bows its forehead in the dust in mute and submissive adoration. So here we see an offering, a bowing, a prostration from the mother's side to the divine. And nothing else exists but thou alone in the splendor of thy immutable peace. Her body remains a separate unit, but the mother is no longer identified with it. She is identified with everything that is divine now. She has opened the sunlit path for us when she did this. She opened the sunlit path, the method she is showing us, the formula she is telling us. It is not done by philosophy, vivek, vichar, ideas, debates, tark, vitark. No, it is not done. It is a central movement. It's a central movement, and this central movement is through the heart. She has said it again in many of her prayers. It is through the heart. When one feels love for the divine, one is ready to offer everything. Love is all about giving, offering. So also giving whatever is within us to the divine. It is no longer, it has not come to me on my own. It has been given to me by the divine. So offer that. And it is by offering, offering, and offering. The general offering turning into the detailed offering. The detailed offering turning into the integral offering. The integral offering turning into day and night offering of every moment, every wish, every thought, every movement, every heartbeat. So there is no limit to it. And there is also no limit to the transformation or the change that can take place. And it is all a result of offering. Whatever we give and we offer to the Lord comes back to us, transformed many folds. Because the divine is also putting the divine touch and giving it to us. We offer in the human form, but what comes back to us is true gold. It turns into the divine gold. But we should not do it with the idea or with the expectation that, okay, if I offer, I will get it. So the moment you do that, then that becomes an absurdity. So, but when you do it selflessly, with only the thought to offer it to the divine, because that is the only way now. That is the only way you understand, and there is nothing else other than that. Then the divine returns it to you as pure gold. The mother used to love this story by Rabindranath Tagore. It's actually a poem, A Little Grain of Gold, where there is a mendicant, and in his bag he has a little few alms, or people have given him tidbits, some bits of grain and all. And he suddenly sees the Lord, the divine Lord, coming in a golden chariot in front of him. And he thinks that my troubles will be over now, since the divine, I'm seeing the divine, and I will ask the divine. What happens? Funnily, the divine Lord gets down from the chariot and asks the beggar, what can you give me? And he finds it very weird. And he says, what is this? He's asking me. So somehow he picks out a small grain of corn from his bag of whatever alms he has got, and he gives it to the divine. He returns, and the Lord takes it and blesses him and goes away. And he returns home in all confusion. He says, I did not even get a chance to ask him anything. And on top of it, he's also taken a little bit of my alms. So when he empties his bag, when he goes home and he empties his bag, he finds that there is a grain of gold in that. And then he realizes, and he's miserable. He realizes that, oh, he could have got so much gold had he just offered everything to the divine. So this is the story the mother used to narrate to the disciples. So in the prayer, mother has narrated so beautifully her own experience, what happened when the dissolution of the ego takes place. Basically, love is what breaks all the boundaries. Now, there is also another way of understanding this ego. What ego does is it actually makes the boundaries bigger and bigger. You know, when as a child, we develop this ego. And we live with this ego because it is essential for us to become an individual. Slowly, what happens? The child grows up. We all grow up. The boy meets a girl, or the girl meets a boy. They fall in love, and then they get married. So now you start thinking about the other person selflessly. Whatever pleases your friend or lover or partner, is also what pleases you. So you are ready to do everything for that. Slowly, then the children come. When the children come, their friends come, their families come. So you start feeling for everything, and whatever is affecting the children at that stage. So you feel that more and more people, your circle around you is widening. It is becoming vaster. So the boundary is becoming more and more people are coming inside. Slowly, what happens when we start offering, we find that this boundary has become so vast that the whole world is actually inside it. So, where is the boundary now? When the whole world is in it, where is the boundary? So, this is what happens when you offer everything that you have to the divine. And when you start seeing divinity in everything. So, love becomes wider and wider. Love seeks union. Yes, it seeks union. It also seeks intensity of union. Not only that, love also seeks eternity of union. So it is all the love is the most potent force. And it is love which will also bring you to a stage where you will be able to make that surrender and offer to the divine. So let us read this beautiful prayer once more. April 10, 1914. Suddenly, the veil was rent. The horizon was disclosed. And before the clear vision, my whole being threw itself at thy feet in a great outburst of gratitude. Yet, in spite of this deep and integral joy, all was calm, all was peaceful with the peace of eternity. I seem to have no more limits. There is no longer the perception of the body, no sensations, no feelings, no thoughts. A clear, pure, tranquil immensity penetrated with love and light, filled with an unspeakable beatitude, is all that is there. And that alone seems now to be myself. And this myself is so little, the former I, selfish and limited, that I cannot tell if it is I or thou. O Lord, sublime master of our destinies. It is as though all were energy, courage, force, will, infinite sweetness, incomparable compassion. Even more forcibly than during these last days, the past is dead, and as though buried under the rays of a new life, the last glance that I have just thrown backward as I read a few pages of this book definitely convinced me of this death, and lightened of a great weight, I present myself before thee, O my divine master, with all the simplicity, all the nudity of a child. And still the one only thing I perceive is that calm and pure immensity. Lord, thou hast answered my prayer. Thou hast granted me what I have asked from thee. The eye has disappeared. There is only a docile instrument put at thy service, a center of concentration and manifestation of thy infinite and eternal rays. Thou hast taken my life and made it thine. Thou hast taken my will and hast united it to thine. Thou hast taken my love and identified it with thine. Thou hast taken my thought and replaced it by thy absolute consciousness. The body, marveling, bows its forehead in the dust in mute and submissive adoration. And nothing else exists but thou alone in the splendor of thy immutable peace. Time for your reflections now. If anybody wants to share, reflect. Any thought that comes to you when you're listening to the prayer? Any experiences you can share? Yet, in spite of this deep and integral joy, all was calm. I'm not able to hear. Yes. Yeah. This is a different kind of happiness. It is full of calmness. It is in spite. Yeah. There is no excitement of the happiness that one feels when one is full. Sir, यहाँ पे आके because I don't think people are able to hear. सुनाई नहीं दिया sir. If you can come here and share.
Just 2 points for emphasis. One, when the mother says, in spite of this deep and integral joy, all was calm, all was peaceful with the peace of eternity. Now, first, this in spite of looks a little surprising. If there is joy, naturally there will be calm and peace. Then why this in spite of the joy? But then if you ponder over it a little, you realize that ordinarily when we are happy, we are not actually at peace. We are excited. We may be happy about that excitement, but all the same, it is not that imperturbable peace, the type of peace you find at the depth of an ocean. That is not the type of peace you have when you are happy. Say when you are celebrating something, you are having a party or something, you are happy. But then this joy is a different type of happiness. It's a much higher and superior version of happiness. And this is the type of happiness that is associated with peace. And just to bring out this fact, this is not an ordinary happiness in which you are excited. She has used this expression that in spite of the joy, all was calm, all was peaceful with the peace of eternity. The second thing that struck me was looking at an individual as a center of concentration and manifestation. In that state when she was released from the ego, the mother is describing herself as a center of concentration and manifestation of thy infinite and eternal rays. So if you visualize the sun is the divine, and it has all these rays. The rays could be infinite in number. So in a sense, each ray is an individual, but then they all are actually in a way a part of the sun. You can't really distinguish the sun from its rays, but all the same, there is a way of looking at it in which you might consider each ray to be an individual. So she's giving us a beautiful way of looking at an individual as a manifestation of the divine, that it is that ray, but then it is within that ray, there's a certain condensation, concentration which has taken place, which leads to a manifestation, which makes it visible, which makes it something distinct as compared to the sun. So each of these rays may manifest in different ways, different types of appearances, different types of creatures, plants, animals, human beings, and then all that infinite variety. But at the depth of it, each of these individual manifestations is merely a center of concentration and manifestation of thy infinite and eternal rays. So it is actually just one ray which has taken this particular shape.